Marketer of the Day, episode 743. Apply the book formula process to write an easy book in record time and get clients.
Familiar with Robert Plank, who is just been extraordinarily supportive of all of us. Has been doing some amazing things in various types of spaces. Obviously, in the local marketing scene, he runs a local media asset as well as a LMADFY.com. Amongst other things, he's a programmer, has created multiple courses, lots of different plugins with WordPress. Simply a dude that is well trusted by us and has been sharing some pretty amazing information about what he's going to be talking about today. I think you're in for a treat. And let's just go ahead and turn it right over to Robert right now. We're going to probably spend about an hour or so with Robert. And just sit back, pay attention, be safe. Right now, we're in the midst of some craziness that's happening pretty much all across the world.
It's nuts.
And now's the best time to just kind of sit back and learn how you might be able to leverage this in your business.
Yeah, use this as a distraction maybe too. Just escape the world of craziness that's all around us right now, which is difficult. But Robert, how you
Focus
doing?
On what you, not too shabby. I mean, focus on what you can control, right? That the whole big scary world out there, you can't do anything about some virus spreading, but what you can do, what you can control is building your own business. And as Drew and David, you guys have said these last few days especially, is that a lot of these businesses out there, they're in panic mode, right? There are employees not going to work. They're closing their doors. Who knows how many months until the public is feeling safe enough to go back in. And then even some of these local mom and pops are doing things like the curbside delivery, and they might need to find some drivers around the community to help out with that and do deliveries. I mean, it's a real big shakeup time, and it's really easy right now to go and hide and binge watch Netflix, which maybe do that for half a day or a day or two, but then at some point you have to pay the bills, right? And a lot of these local businesses, at some point they're going to need to pay the bills too. So in this shake-up time, it might be a good idea to pursue the things that you've always wanted to, and to maybe think about building up your LMA, or there's always that to-do list of, I could run the contest. Well, guess what? Now's your time, right? I could be sending those reach outs to those local businesses. Well, now's your time. And the topic, as you guys said, of what we're talking about today is making a book. And a book kind of scares a lot of people, but you guys have a book. It's book fever, right? The book virus is spreading around. And we all need to have books, and a lot of people are afraid of the work that might be involved or their perfectionism. But you can have just a little tiny dinky book. Your book technically doesn't even have to have pages in it. This one does, but you can have a book that and a really easy jumping off point for anyone out there in LMA lands, if they don't know what to have a book about, is write a few pages about what services you can provide on your LMA, right? If you sell ad space, if you're one of those videographers in the group, if you can do the quick, those 30-second, those 1 minute interviews, if there's something special outside the box. I mean, like you said at the beginning here, Drew, you have your business card on crack, on steroids, right? Everyone throws away a business card, but if you had a really dinky book, I think this cost maybe like $1 or $2 to create. So what if you had a big box of these made, and maybe it's too scary to walk into these businesses these days, but maybe send them to them in the mail. And this is a great way to get your foot in the door. But I think that just by Lance and I are launching a course about this lately. And as you guys know, when you launch a course, sometimes you do the survey thing, right? You ask people about where they're stuck or about their fears and figure out where the pain point is. And everyone's just making it too complicated. And I think that everyone, especially LMAers, the key, and I mean, you guys know this, you just finished the book, the key isn't to get a few steps knocked out of the way, right? If you were working on 20 things on your book at once, if you're figuring out, well, what's the cover, what's the title, what am I going to write, let me edit, it'd be a big mess and you wouldn't finish. Like most people just let it become a huge mess. But if you realize that in this day and age with self-publishing, with places like Amazon, they will first of all make your book for you for free, basically, right? You just pay like that little percentage of what their costs are. But it doesn't, you don't have to spend, buy 5,000 copies of your book. You don't need to spend $5,000 on your book. You can use like, what's the Brandy's course, Canva Like Cake, right? Use Canva Like Cake, make a book cover. And then all these online systems, they want you to just upload your book cover, upload a Word document with the words inside. And then there's a little bit of fine tuning, but everyone out there, especially Jeff Bezos, they want you to have a book. So now's the time to do it, especially in these scary times. It's time to think outside the box and get your book out there.
And now's the perfect time to do it. Certainly within the next couple of weeks or the next couple of months. We don't know, what that time is going to consist of, and there's a lot of uncertainty. So something like this may be an amazing opportunity to sit down and follow your instructions. Obviously, you were talking about this a little bit earlier, Robert. Was you don't necessarily need to be this perfect grammar executioner, right? Like you may not need to have the best command of the English language to actually author a book, or the patience and the wherewithal to actually understand syntax and where the best way to actually construct a sentence or a paragraph, let alone a book itself in its entirety. There's all kinds of ways to go about constructing a book. And, obviously one would probably think that you need to sit down over a period of time to, put one of these books together. And that's just simply not the case. What are some practical ways that or ideas people might be able to construct an idea around? Do they need to be an expert in something in order to get a book done?
You don't need to be an expert, but I mean, technically everyone who has an LMA already has a resource, right? And so you can have your book talk about what the LMA can do for you. And I mean, with these books, there's kind of like you're saying here, Drew, is that it doesn't have to be like the good old fashioned start to finish, like big, thick book. There's all kinds of outside the box things that you can do. It's like, for example, you're in this one, and honestly, you haven't read this cover to cover, right? You haven't read every single person's chapter, right?
Right.
So no one is going to notice if you had a little typo or if all your pages aren't filled in. It's like a lot of it. It's a credibility tool. And just like how your people have set up their local media assets, and maybe at first you just created a Facebook page and then later on you added a website, you can approach your book in the same way of just get that minimum viable product out there and just have a blank book. And then maybe later on you can add in some of your contact information or add in a handful of ideas for some of these local businesses to maybe think about some things outside the box, like maybe have they claimed their Facebook page? Do they have their listing on Yelp and Google? Do they have a simple website? Do they have a Facebook pixel? There's probably just a handful of easy things. And some of these books, the pages are so small and you can put it in large print. You can maybe even just start with some bullet points and have just one quick page saying, hey, there's this thing called a Facebook pixel. Have you done that? You can claim your business on Google My Business. Have you done that? And so, you're talking about this idea of being an expert. And that's really scary, right? Because when we think of experts, we think about like nuclear physicists or brain surgeons, but there are things that all your people know about because they've run these LMAs, they've set up websites, they set up Facebook pages, and it's all really basic third grade things about internet marketing that are so simple for us, but the local bakery or whoever, they don't know about this. And if you can put it in simple terms, then you can win. And like a big aha I had early on, which I can't remember. I don't think we talked about this, but when I was like 17, 18 years old, I was having trouble making money, landing clients, right? I was a programmer like you guys. And I was just always trying to, win on price, or I thought if I talked to more people, I would get some programming jobs. But then as soon as I began writing a few things down, as soon as I had my own book, and at that time it was just an ebook, then I had more people than I can handle. Then I had to turn people away. So I thought that if I was teaching my secret sauce, if I taught how to do what I did, I thought that it would not lead to me getting any clients. But then the opposite happened. I ended up landing people that maybe they got the book or the ebook wanting to know what was involved, so that way maybe they can check on the final work, or maybe they had the best of intentions and thought that they would become a programmer or create an app. And then once they saw all the steps involved, then they were like, okay, well, it's good to know what the process is, but this is just too much work for me. I'd rather pay the person that wrote the book in order to do it. So a good jumping off point for any LMA person out there is list a few things that you do and like give away the whole formula, and don't make it overly complicated. Don't make it techie on purpose, but just explain what you've done to set up these the Facebook page, and to any kind of fun like posts that got a lot of engagement. And even like everyone here who has an LMA page, a Facebook page, you all kind of know what gets responses and what doesn't, right? You guys know about posting memes, or about posting the local news stories in the community, or how it's kind of important to post somewhat consistently, or do things to get people, involved and ask questions, and do the fun things like say, the last person to comment on this post gets a fun gift. So there's all these things that all your people know about. And then if you've had an LMA for maybe 6 months or longer, then there are fun stories, right? Then there are those success stories of, did you get 200 people to come into Sal's Pizzeria, right? Yeah. Or if you did this fun NFL football game back when we had sports teams, so maybe we'll have them in 2021. But yeah, there's like, once you start digging,
case studies.
There's the case studies, and once you start digging, it's like hard to stop, right? Then you'll find more and more things that you can fit into a book. But I think that the key to all of this is to have it where it's always publishable, right? So if you just had a cover and some blank pages, put it online, cool. Now you could ship that out to the local clients you want to land. Then maybe the next day, edit the inside and put in some of your contact details, so that way they can reach you. And guess what? Just that on its own, it is a business card. And then maybe the next day, add in some bullet points, or add in a list of things that you could do for these local businesses, a menu. So I think that if you incrementally go about it, then you'll never get stuck. You'll never have a half-finished book, just like how your LMA has never half-finished. You set it up good enough once, and then you just keep on bolting on, adding on the fun things as you get better at it.
That's incredible. I know that the title of this webinar and this workshop is how to create a prospecting tool that every local agency owner should have. We love talking about prospecting because that's really what helps propel a business forward. In fact, not too long ago, we talked about a strategy about following up and using business cards to do that in such a way that we're not necessarily looking to get our business card out there, but more or less to get the other person's business card so we can follow up with them. This is a little bit of a different beast because people just don't throw books away, right? A lot of people throw business cards away. They get them and they throw them away. And that's kind of why we taught about that process. Right as you were just talking about this whole concept of, creating a book and getting some blank pages and that sort of thing, I thought of several ways that this can be leveraged to help local businesses and for your agency to be able to connect with those local businesses. In fact, we were thinking about putting a little bonus together here to teach people just to do that. Maybe perhaps something along the lines of the best of your local town type of deal, where you just simply interview local businesses and put that into the book, right? Like what business wouldn't want to be known as the best of Pottstown or the best of whatever their local town is, local media asset would be. Very, very easy to accomplish simply through doing what we're already doing anyway, like interviews and connecting with these local businesses. It actually gives you an excuse. And now once you produce one of these things, of course, they're going to want to copy, right? Because they are actually listed inside the book itself. They can use this as social proof that, hey, we were actually listed in this book. An amazing opportunity for local media asset owners or anyone who has a local agency or is interested in getting a book together. Here's an amazing way to really connect with a bunch of people and bake in an audience at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. It is an amazing prospecting tool. It stands out, and I think that's a big key too, is seeming remarkable, standing out when you're out networking or prospecting. Like I did this book like 4 years ago. I don't really hand it out too much anymore, but the truth is, it's true, Drew, when you say people don't throw these things away. About 2 months ago, I got an email from somebody who I gave this book to at a networking event, like probably 3.5 or 4 years ago. And they said, hey, they sent me an email saying, hey, you gave me your book a while back. We're looking to do some marketing for our company. And I wanted to reach out to you about possibly meeting up and talking. Does that happen with business cards? Does that happen with business cards? So here's my move at networking and prospecting events or meetups you'd be talking to somebody and they'd say, oh, do you have a card? And I didn't have any cards with me, but I would reach around like, oh, I'm looking for my card. I'm like, oh, I don't, and I would keep like 10 of these in my bag, my computer bag. And it's like, I don't have my cards are in the car, but hey, you know what? Take one of my books. And that was my move, to hand out the book. Kind of like, not like, I don't want to be like a jerk saying, oh, take a copy of my book, But it was kind of just, you know what, just take one of these. My contact information is in the back and give it a read. Here you go. And that was my move. And it worked extremely well for, it still would if I was handing that particular book out. But it does work. It does stand out. And it's an amazing way to just make connections with people and stand out.
Nice. I'm totally going to steal that whenever the live networking comes roaring back. And I've done the kind of a similar thing, except for like when I go to some of these NSA, National Speaker Association meetings around here, I bring like a bag of like 10 of my books, and then same deal. Like either they have a business card or they don't have a business card, and I need to steal the fumbling around my pocket thing, but I have a Sharpie with me and I go and like sign their name on the book, and and it's like, it's weird because at least with those speakers, I have to tell them the book is free. They're like, oh, don't I have to pay you like 10 and 20 bucks? I'm like, no, it's free. Like, I want you to have it. But you're so right that the years later it might pay off, right? It's a numbers game, and it's about the follow-up. And if your book's been on their shelf for the past 5 years, and then they look at, oh, well, is there a book I haven't read recently? Or if they're still on your list, now there's multiple ways that they're keeping in touch with you, and you don't even know it because their book's just been sitting around for years.
That's it, man. I would get 100 of these printed up at one time. And I think if you did like 100 through like CreateSpace, they were like under $2.50 a piece. And this is 100. This one in particular is like 142 pages. And what a great investment to make in terms of making connections with people and being remarkable and rememberable for $2.50.
Well, David, from there, that $2.50 investment for that one that just recently got in touch with you, what's the likelihood, or what's the real return on the investment of that? I mean, you ended up signing these people for probably thousands of dollars in consultation and other types of services, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, another thing I would do too is at networking events. I was member, still am, of some large networking groups where you would get the opportunity once a month or once a quarter to actually get up at the networking meeting and give like a 10 or 15 minute presentation. So I would do that, and at the end I'd have a giant box of books, and I'd get everybody in the room a book of mine.
Nice.
Huge.
Huge.
And I mean, and there's so many cool, crazy things that you can do. Like at this other speaking event, I made a mock-up for each person. So like this Beth Hodis lady, she was one that I thought was going to be at the event, but wasn't. I passed out the rest of the books, but blank pages on the inside. And so this is kind of interesting, because let's say, and like you can't go crazy with this, right? You can't like make like 100 of these, but let's say you're going to that monthly Chamber of Commerce meeting, and there's someone that like will be there, or maybe you met them last month and they'll show up again and again. Like, why not have your virtual assistant or whoever make a front and back cover, and then you can get this printed on demand for, and basically we're talking about the cost. The Amazon's printing for like a book this size is, like you said, like $2.50, maybe $3 at the most. And then I use Lulu for some of like the just ad hoc print on demand, and it's like $4. So I mean, we're talking just a few dollars. It's not like it's not like it's $10 a pop. And then and yeah, it's like and I think that everyone who's watching right now needs to at least have like a pile of some kind of books on hand for whatever local networking presents itself. But then you also, what I do is, I think in the last week, I sent out maybe like 35, 45 copies of I sent like a 3-pack with 3 of my latest books to people. And even shipping, if you know how to do it, is pretty dang cheap. Like, even if there are people that maybe aren't in town that you're looking to network prospect with, PayPal has a special page where it's called like create a shipping label. It's like paypal.com/ship label/create. And so what I do is I take a manila folder, and I put a book in, and I kind of wrap it around and tape it, and then send a media mail shipping via PayPal. It's like $2.85. So, I mean, to add up your costs, I mean, $5, $6 at the most to even get a book made, printed, mailed, send it to whatever prospects. I mean, it's so cheap, right? You don't have to drop all this money. And then there's all kinds of outside of the box stuff that we're talking about here, like how there's like the thing with like the best pizza in town, the best wings in town. And like some of your LMA people are doing like these local summits, right? They're having like the big event where each business owner has their speaking slot. And the thing that I hope that these people doing the summits keep in mind is to reuse the content, right? Because it's good to have your business owners come in and present stuff, and everyone has fun, but don't let that content die. In 6 months or 12 months, are those business owners still going to get some mileage out of that speaking they did or that presenting? Well, they can if you maybe get the recordings transcribed, edited, put it into a book, and then have a few copies for yourself. Set it up so that your those people who participated in the summit, maybe they can order some copies at cost. Maybe the next time you do the summit, you build that into the price. So maybe like they pay to have a slot in your little event, and that comes with 25 copies of the book. And then you can have a lot of fun too with the rebranding, because what I've been doing lately is I get a book made and I sell it on Amazon like this one. But then I also mentioned there's this platform called Lulu, which is a little more expensive, but you can have your book on both platforms. And when you do that, then you can do this fun thing called private labeling, where you have the exact same book, but then you put someone else on the cover. And so the book that I'm showing off of Drew's, and if you guys in the group know Lance, I just have a book full of each person has a different chapter. And next time around for the 2020 book, we're going to have David in talking about Everlinks. And that's already kind of the wheels are in motion there. But every person in this book has their own chapter, right? So there's like different author names for each chapter. And that's great. But then we also had separate covers made and then multiple copies sent to each person. So Drew posted a few days ago this kind of cool little spread where he like had a bunch of his own books and he's on the cover. So there's some minor, just subtle touches you can do to your book here. You can have the best of whoever in town, but then make multiple variations of the book where the best pizza, like they're on the cover, like they're a business owner's photo, the establishment and the sign and the outside right in there. And then, and even, I don't know if you noticed this, Drew, but even in the books I sent to you, your chapter's right up front, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And so is everyone else's.
It's fantastic. I got to tell you, I'm going to jump in here for a second and just share that I shared that onto my social profiles, right? So not only in our main group, but privately on my personal wall, as well as Instagram and inside of stories and that sort of thing. And what happened thereafter was people that I'm in contact with, I'm associated with and connected with on various social platforms. I got a ton of people reaching out to me, asking me for a copy. How did I get it done? What's inside the book? What it's about? It started to create conversation and interest, right? So this particular book, even though I didn't really write it, I technically contributed to it in a very special, unique way. There you go. I didn't do any of the work with regards to this book yet. I've got a bunch of them to give out. I've got a bunch of mini chapters to give out as well. And now it's spurring a lot of attention around this idea of like, how can I replicate this? How can I create even more books? Number one, it's entirely plausible. There's my ugly mug on the front of this book. And it's spurred a lot of interest in there. So now my ideas, combined with what you're talking about here for not only the LMA, but some other projects are now really starting to develop some life to these future projects. I would highly recommend everybody consider writing a book, or at least authoring it in some capacity. And hopefully we'll be getting into how people can actually get that done.
Yeah, and we want to make sure people know how to get to it. So the link is deliciousmarketing.io/go/book. And I mean, it's just like with all this LMA stuff, there's always a million ideas, right? And I think the key is to out of all the ideas that are there, get started on one idea. That way, while that's rocking and rolling, while the book's being sold or you're sending copies out, then maybe you can jump on the other idea. But I mean, so many crazy things you can do, right? You can make the mock-up book. You can make the quick book that is your actual business card and kind of goes more into detail about the things that you do, have a menu of your services, have links to your own products or your own other books, or an easy thing that anyone can do is make a list of your favorite tools in whatever capacity you run your business. Like if you use Everlinks, or if you like to use a certain thing to run the contests, motivational quotes. There's an easy way where you can, if you just think in terms of a book as, well, what's on this one page? If this one page says, use Everlinks, here's what's great about it, here's my shortened affiliate link, then that's an easy jumping off point. So we have the mock-up books, the business card books. You can get these local businesses to be in a compilation book with you. You can network with other people or the services, not just local businesses, but contact Drew and David and have them contribute a chapter to your book. Contact the makers of some social posting tool and see if one of their reps will get on an interview with you, transcribe it, put them a chapter in your book. And even if they won't do that, write a chapter about Cloud Campaign or about meet Edgar or whoever, and feature them in a book. I mean, as I think the kind of the common theme we keep circling back to is that people are automatically impressed with the fact that it's in a book, right? And a book on its own is not a magic button, but in combination with the follow-up, with your networking, with having a local media asset page, it gives you one more step ahead of some of these other people that don't even have a book. I mean, when someone researches David Calafiore and Drew Griffin, if they see that there's an Amazon page for you guys, if you see that there's a way for someone to buy the book, that gives you a lot more legitimacy than someone who maybe they have a website, right? Maybe they have a LinkedIn page, but do they have a book? No. Well, they must not know very much. They must not be able to help my local business all that much.
Right.
So one of the main ways, Robert, that you are doing this is utilizing things like a podcast where you have the opportunity to sit down and interview somebody in depth, and then you're extracting the information from those interviews, having them transcribed and then taken and put into these books in different chapters. That is a fantastic way for anybody who, especially if you're running a local media asset and you want to maybe write stories about local business owners in the area. It's a great connection tool, first of all, to approach a local business owner, do a podcast, and then not even tell them, but take the information and the content from that podcast, have it transcribed, put into a book, and then what an amazing excuse to be able to walk back into that business and hand that business owner a book with their image on it, and some of the content from your interview, which maybe lays out the story of their business or how they got started doing what they're doing in business right now. That is an amazing way to connect to a local business owner.
And something that I keep getting reminded of probably almost every time I jump into your guys' Facebook group is have a funnel, right? And I saw even there's one person in the group who's like, oh, I might be closing now my local business, and everyone jumps in saying, no, keep it going, don't give up. And it's easy to get burned out if you think of things as like really flat, right? Because it's easy to think, oh, well, I'm going to send 100 feelers to local businesses, and then you do all this work and nothing comes back. Or I'm going to make 100 mock-up books and nothing comes back. But I think the key from a lot of this prospecting and a lot of this like doing a little bit of work for free is to weed out the people that don't want you, right? And so maybe you go to that Chamber of Commerce meeting, and there's a couple of people who you take their business card, you hand them your book. Those are your warmer prospects, right? You send some emails, or you send some social media messages to all these businesses, and then maybe a handful reply back. Now, those are the ones to continue moving forward with, right? So it's like, don't invite everyone on your podcast. Don't take everyone on your podcast and put them in a book. But those businesses that are even slightly curious about what your LMA can do for them and your social marketing, it's like reward these business owners for giving you a little bit of attention. And I think I don't know if I'm putting it into the right words here, but I think that it's easy to get burnt out on saying, oh, I'll make 100 books, I'll get 100 podcast episodes. It's like, contact 100 businesses, and then the 10 that are talking to you, then focus on those, right? It's like, think of things in terms of a funnel instead of just like blasting and then wondering why it didn't work. Was because you just did one blast. You don't have this step-by-step process to walk people through. Or maybe you meet someone at the event, you get their business card, you hand them your book. A week later, shoot them an email, see if they want to talk to you. A week later, see if they want to be on your podcast. Maybe they weed themselves out that way. After the podcast, see if they even want to be in the book. Once they're in the book, then roll back into their business again. Most of these other internet marketing agencies, right? The bad guys, the people that aren't on LMAs, they don't do this. They kind of try it one and done. They spam, they blast. They wonder why it doesn't work. They're not bringing people up the funnel.
Yeah. Now, listen, this is not difficult to do, but it's also not, push button easy. It takes work. It takes consistency to go out and continually contact people and put the work in, but it's extremely powerful. And the results that you'll get in return are really, really worth it. Now, Robert, you've got this kind of systematized, don't you? Can you kind of explain to maybe about how you go about making this easy on yourself? Because it can sound like a lot of work, but it's not as hard to put together as most would think.
Right. And we have, like, we plugged the link. We have that course coming up called Book Formula. And this is the fifth iteration of our publishing a book course. And the thing is that if you try to sit down and you sit at the laptop and you pull up the Word document with the blank page and you say, page 1, introduction, and you think you're going to type for the next 200 pages, it's not going to work. You need to make it easier on yourself. And the new updated way that we're doing this is we have you make the book cover first. We have you make the book where there's no pages inside. That way you can at least have an easy win, right? That way, even if you only had a book with blank pages, that could still work as your business card, right? Even if there was nothing inside of it. So
can you explain that? How does a blank book work as your business card?
Because you have your contact details in there, right? You have right. Your bio, you have your web address at the bottom. Maybe you put your phone number on it. So you can make books in all shapes and sizes. So one year for Christmas, I made a book like this called Internet Marketing on Crack. This is like maybe 5 years ago now. And it's got my phone number on it, right? And it was just, and I made it something that was a weird size, big and ugly, just because as you know, with internet marketing, sometimes big and ugly stands out better. So I just made it like a big honking 8.5 by 11. And then there's just, like different things. Like there's motivational quotes in there. Man, maybe I should like update this and send this out. But there's like some of my best blog posts in there. And again, it's almost at cost. And I mean, we have stuff like for our courses, this looks like it's from a bookstore, right? And this is just, if you know how to make the cover, put the text in there, and like you guys said, navigate some of the menus and things like that. I mean, here's our book. This is like 558 pages. It's a big old thud sort of book. But I mean, you can make any sort of size book you want, right? Big, small. But yeah, if you had just no pages in it, or even, I mean, how about this? You could have a book with no pages and say place to take notes and line. You could have the thing to say take notes, but the footer of every page had your name, your website, your phone number, all kinds of fun stuff like that. And so yeah, if you can have a cover and you can have a book that you can use for networking or make your live streams, do your videos, because authors do this all the time, right? If they have a book coming out and it won't be out for the next few months, they market it ahead of time, right? And so you could get the mock-up made, and then while you're still scrambling to finish the inside of the book, start putting out videos or send those reaching out videos to local businesses and just be like, my name's Drew Griffin and I have an upcoming book called Local Media Assets. They don't have to know that there's nothing written yet. It's still in process. And then a lot of people, they get stressed out about the contents of their book, right? They think it has to be some big, crazy, weaving Lord of the Rings type of tale. Like early on, I knew this guy, and he said he wanted to make a book that was fiction and nonfiction at the same time. He wanted to make a book where like he's driving along the road and he gets run off the road and gets in a car accident and he wakes up and it's 1950. And then he has to like learn he applies internet marketing to old 1950s principles. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a cool idea. Problem was he died. He died of colon cancer. He died before he could make the book. Mm-hmm. He made it too complicated. And then in the meantime, I had a friend who was teaching copywriting, right? How to make sales letters. And it was a 20 chapter book. And I looked at the book, and it was like chapter 1, how to do a headline. Chapter 2, how to do your subheadline. Chapter 3, and then the very last chapter was how to do the PS on your webpage. I was like, oh, it can be that easy. It doesn't have to be this big old crazy tale. Right. I met a guy who put out a weight loss book, and chapter 1 was drink water. Chapter 2 was walk around the block. So simpler can be better. And especially if you consider that you should not put your entire life knowledge into a book, because no one will care about it except for you. It'll be too weird. But if you think in terms of where are people stuck, how can you help them? What are some easy tools, or what are some easy tasks that you could do for them? But if they don't want you, they're free to go ahead and try it on their own. But then when they get stuck, then they need you. I think that's a better way of thinking about it. And it helps you get outside your head, right? Because when we started this call, we were talking about how it's easy to get down to the dumps. It's easy to say, well, I'm stuck at home because of the virus. And then a lot of the bad stuff creeps in, right? You start thinking about all those inside feelings. And the way to get out of that is to help someone else, right? And so if you think about these local businesses, they need help. They need to get their customers back, or they need their customers to keep going. Maybe they're worried about hanging on to employees. Maybe it's finally time for them to embrace some of this digital stuff. Get a website, online ordering, maybe an app. I mean, if someone in this LMA group has a process for taking any restaurant and getting an app, getting like a local app created, and there's all kinds, I mean, you guys know better than me, but there's all kinds of like services where they'll generate an app for you, right? And they'll put it on the Apple Store and put it on the Android store. Mm-hmm. I mean, walk some local business through that process, and even make the most promising business on your radar right now the case study, and say, let's say you're this kind of business, and your problem is people can't come in right now, and you're worried about employees. Maybe you had to lay a couple of people off, but then now the employees can't run the business. Here's what you do. And you just even walk them through, maybe leave out what the exact tool is, but take screenshots and say, I want to use this app creator, and we put this business's name in there, and we do this to set it up, and we put it on the Apple Store, put it on the Android store, market it on Facebook. Here's how we get people coming in the door. Just think about like a case study like that, and then boom, there's your book, right? You created a book without even thinking about it, and it's up to you to decide how deep you want to make it, because you don't even have to do screenshots if you don't know how to do it. Maybe just tell people about this idea of the app, and then just kind of talk about the real, like, basic, how would you explain it to a 10 or 12-year-old about how would an app work for this local business? I mean, all kinds of crazy ideas, as long as you get out of your head, you think about the problems that these businesses have, and then what are a handful of steps that will get their customers back or get their money back.
I love it. I mean, just the whole blank book concept kind of just opened up my eyes as you were kind of explaining, why you'd want to do that. I wasn't thinking in the sense of like, it just could be like a notebook for somebody. Or, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of advertisements recently for, people putting out social media content planners. Like if you are running an agency that's offering, social media posting, you could create a content planner book that kind of just, has 365 pages in it with content ideas for each day. And then just basically walk around to local businesses, introduce yourself, and hand out a book. Yeah. Hey, we run a local agency. Thought you might find this handy. Nice to meet you.
And there are so many just like easy things that, I mean, if you think in terms of like, if you only had 5 minutes a day to like for your restaurant to get a more expanded online presence, what can you do in just 5 minutes a day? Each of those is just a quick page of your book, right?
Right.
Create the Facebook page, put the pixel on there, just easy things. And it doesn't even have to be 365 days at first, because the thing I was worried about early on with this self-publishing thing was I was worried that the book would be set in stone. I was worried that I would be stuck with the title, with the price, with the contents. It would just be stuck. And you can put out the best stab at your book right now. Maybe you only have 15 ideas or 20 ideas for the social media marketing. You publish that for now, and then that's what gets printed. And then maybe in a week you think of 10 more, and you go and you update the Word document, upload it again to the print on demand, and then every copy that comes out after that is the new version. So this really can be a thing where you create the basic bare bones now, and then maybe it's blank pages now, and then in a week it's 10 pages, and in a week it's 20 pages. You just kind of incrementally add as you go. Yeah.
Robert, why don't you bring up your screen right now and take us through what you guys are going to be teaching in this course?
All right. So let's see how to do that. Sharing screen. So at the moment we're broadcasting, it's a live course. We'll be starting on March 25th. And here's basically the agenda is we'll be helping you figure out your book's hook. And then from that, figuring out your concept. And then from that comes the cover and mock-up. And just like everything else, there's a little bit of thinking, but not much. And it's mostly just reducing the bad decisions and having a couple of good decisions left over. And then once you make the decision, then you apply the template. And so it's easy to say, oh, well, I don't even know what to put on my book cover. We figured out a template. So the template in this case is title, picture, author name on the back, picture, bio, website. Right. And then if you start thinking in terms of, let me just plug in the pieces, then guess what? You can have that book with the blank pages by the end of the first module with a few other things figured out, like your bio. So if you want to eventually appear on a podcast to promote your business, which is a good idea, you have the bio that's on your book. Now you have that figured out. So the first module here is just figure out your idea and to get to the point where you have at least the mock-up business card book that you can hold in video or you can pass out. Then the next step is to do this thing what we call the doodle and present method, which means, people get really stuck about how do I even start? What do I even say for like the first sentence of my book? Well, an easy idea is to draw a doodle. Draw a quickie little diagram that might be like 3 boxes with arrows, or maybe you have like it's just some kind of graphic or pie chart. Yeah, something like that. If you have some kind of a symbol or a graphic, then this could be the quickie presentation you give at the Chamber of Commerce, like you were saying earlier, David. How 15 minutes you can unpack 15 minutes worth of this one graphic. You can spend 10 pages unpacking what this graphic is. So this idea of having a graphic that you can unpack a little bit or a lot means that it can be a whole chapter or it can be like one little presentation. And the thing also about a book is that if you don't have an outline, you're pretty much doomed to failure. But a lot of people don't want to have an outline because they're worried that it'll make writing the book boring, right? Because they're like, oh, now I'm just filling in the pieces of the outline. And I've twice now created a book the same day I thought of the idea. And I don't have a copy on hand, but there's a book called Checklist Mindset where I wanted to make a book explaining Google Drive, Google Documents, Google Sheets, Gmail, Asana, Zapier, all these productivity tools. And I was mad that I didn't have a book, so I used this process that we have, which the WWHW is part of it, but it's this process of dumping out all the ideas, narrowing down the good ones and rearranging and unpacking, and then you end up having an outline where you can literally just speak it out if you want to, and then get it transcribed and get it cleaned up, or you can look at this whole outline and just choose out of the maybe 7 things that you thought of, like 7 things you could do to help a local business. Just write a quick blog post or like consider it a Facebook post, but write a few pages worth. And then that can just be your book for now, right? So let's say you thought of 7 different chapters for all these cool things you could do with a local business. Maybe chapter 3 is the most interesting one. Just make that your book for now. No one has to know that later on you went back to your original plan. So we basically we show you ways to research what other people have done. And this I've never seen anyone else do it as quickly as I do. You can literally go on Amazon and find a book similar to yours, because unless we're talking about these really specific books like the mock-ups or the compilation books, if you're looking to make a book that maybe shows off what you do, you don't want to have something too weird, right? You want to have like 4 work week for this, for example. So we show you how to just look at the books that already exist on Amazon to see if there's an existing demand and make something that's kind of in that category, but your own take on it. And then you can, when you see how we do it, you can look at a lot of books on Amazon and see what your book should and shouldn't have, and then look at like the covers. And there are specific things we look at where we can just say, ooh, well, I hadn't thought of this idea to put in my book just by doing the research about it. And then the third module here is how to speak out your book, how to get it transcribed, how to either edit it yourself or have someone else edit it. And then finally, the thing we were talking about where it's easy if you know it's easy to publish a book if you know what you're looking at and what to click. Right. And if you haven't done it, it's so confusing where you might get stuck. And so we show you how we can just go click, click, click. And in a couple of minutes, if we have even just the cover, cool, books online. If we happen to have the inside, the writing, cool, books online. And then we have a few bonuses for things like how to use your book to get on podcasts and sell more copies of it, how to bang out an audiobook. And by the way, I hope both of you guys put the local media assets book in audiobook form, because these last 6 months, my audiobook sales have been about on par with the book sales. Huh. So with audiobooks, you have less buyers, but you get a heck of a lot more in the money with every sale. And just like in the same way where Amazon has ways where you can give away your book and get paid for it, the same is true with audiobooks. You can give away these things called promo codes, where someone can take a special code, go to audible.com, get your audiobook for free. They don't pay any money, but you still get paid because it's in the big Jeff Bezos slush fund. So there are just all kinds of ways where you can make extra money from having an audiobook. Plus, someone gets your audiobook for free, then that boosts your sales for the print book on Amazon. Plus, you can follow up and get them to leave a review on the audiobook. Plus, now you're in their ear if they prefer to listen from audiobooks than regular books. We talk about the compilation books. We show how to make a website based on your book. You can get interviewed about your book on my podcast. So all kinds of fun stuff. So that way, that way this idea of a book isn't just like a woulda, shoulda, coulda. It's not something that maybe I'll get to, but I'm making it too complicated. Now you can use this self-quarantine or social distancing time to finally get the book done. And like you guys have been saying, it doesn't take 6 months or 6 years. You don't have to write 200 pages. As long as you know what to click and what the simple shortcut is, that way you make it easy on yourself.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. I mean, look at this price to get all of that. I mean, just simply that module around the idea of creating an audiobook and potentially generating as much revenue from the sale of an audiobook as well as your physical copy. Not to mention all the other benefits that you just covered. It's an amazing skill set and knowledge to be able to leverage this. And not only for just local media assets, but for any business endeavor that you might have, or some ideas or some concepts to generate lead magnets or amazing tools that you can get out there and be well known. Jumping onto the podcast circuit is an amazing way to do list building. And if you've got a book and if you've got a funnel, that you're certainly going to cover on all these different modules, it's an amazing way to start building out a list of people that might like to do business with you.
I agree completely. And you mentioned the podcast circuit, and I think when I was on your this is the show, right? We'll call this a when I was on your show here, your live stream a few months ago, I talked about I interviewed this guy William Hung from American Idol, and I bought his book, and I don't know if I should say this or not. I don't know if he'll be mad, but basically, so this book of his, 99 pages, and I've read some that's really good, but he paid $17,000 for this to have a book made. and so, I mean, if you charge these local, say you network with the local lawyer or accountant, and you can work at it, and you use what you learned in book formula to get a book made for them with their picture. If you charge anything less than $17,000, then you're the cheap option compared to what a lot of people are paying. So my mind has been blown lately on, and again, it's like if someone's paying big bucks for their book, that's a good thing, and they're investing in their future and all that. But I think everyone in this LMA group, we're not charging enough, right? And that's an easy way for us to get. And the thing is too that for a lot of these local businesses, having a book, either being in a group book, or the local lawyer having a book about how to survive your divorce, or that accountant on how to save on taxes. For some of these people, it's cost prohibitive, right? Yeah. Maybe the local accountant, maybe they don't want to pay $17,000 for a book, but maybe they can pay you $5 or $6,000 for it. And maybe they don't trust the big shot in Los Angeles or New York City, but you live in town. Maybe you can show that you have a book of your own. You can show that you have the best of restaurants in town. And I'm been seeing a lot of that with your LMA people, is they kind of do the quick early win, and then they use those other successes to get bigger and bigger successes. But the key is to not leave things incomplete. So run the one contest, or build up the subscribers in the messenger bot, do the proof of concept, show it can be done one time, and then use it to approach another business to get a contest run of their own. Get some kind of a book created for yourself, proof of concept, and then when you approach some of these local businesses for a book of their own, you can say, well, this isn't my first rodeo, it's my fourth book or fifth book, or I did the book for that person down the street. Wouldn't you like to catch up with him? So lots of fun possibilities, as usual with us, right? It's like just a runaway train of one idea leads to 20, leads to 2,000.
I would imagine that most, local business folks don't even know that this is a possibility, and I think once you can kind of open their eyes to that. Like you just used the example of a lawyer and like, how to save your ass during a divorce, or, I think it's a great thing for lawyers, but a chiropractor, a dentist, they can take some sort of niche thing, some part of their business that they always get questions about, or they're always have people wondering about, and write a book about it. And it's an amazing lead generation tool. It's a social proof tool. It's absolutely a service that you could offer to local business people, as well as creating books for yourself to spur on your own prospecting and sales.
It's evident. Yeah. Robert, you just said that William paid $17,000 to get a 99-page book done, and what basically for $97 for the book formula, you could have all the secrets that you need. You don't need to be a major publishing house to actually do it. This book formula actually Uberfies the entire publishing industry, right? You have the ability to leverage, two of the largest distribution channels on the planet. And it's not really even that expensive to get the book done. It takes a little bit of time, which right now, that's all we have. All of it here in the United States, we've got nothing but time to actually sit down, think out a book, join Robert and Lance on March 25th to get started with the book formula. $97. I'm going to be there. Hey, I'm taking full advantage of this. In fact, I'm just about to hit the purchase button to go through this entire course with everybody as well. Crazy not to. David, we just published the LMA book, and by proxy, I've got my name on the title of another book, by way of Robert, and I'm going to take this formula and run with it, because right now, outside of LMA, this is an amazing service that you can provide not only to build your local media asset out, but other opportunities. Right, you're going to meet all kinds of businesses, whether it's attorneys or physicians, local restaurants. I mean, there's probably amazing. Like every single one of these businesses has a story, right? They all started a business point, and you could probably extract a business right out or a book right outside of those as well. So again, what's the URL for this, David?
It's I put it in the chat. It's also pinned to the top of the chat. So it's Delicious Marketing. I always put .com by accident. It's deliciousmarketing.io /go/book. So ignore my last post there. Just delete that. It's pinned to the top. That is the correct link there. And so, Robert, just to confirm, you're doing this in live sessions starting March 25th. How many live sessions are there? Is it all done in one session, or
4 modules, 4 live sessions, 1 week apart
for $97? Wow.
That way there's time after the session to go and do your assignment, do your homework, get a book cover made, wait for it to get sent to you, and then you get a little bit of a break. Next week you jump in and get to the next step. Okay.
Love it. Amazing. I'm excited too to kind of go through this and learn some. I mean, we've put books together, but there's always things that I've not considered. There's ways to make it easier on yourself. Like this book that I showed you earlier, this took me forever to put together, 4 years ago. I agonized over this, and there was probably no reason to do so. The content inside could have been a lot easier, a lot simpler, and it would have gotten me the same effect that doing something just a lot simpler would have gotten me. And hopefully I can learn that. Even our book, Drew, the Local Media Assets book, took us a while to put together. It's simple. It's a quick read, but yet it still took us forever to get together and actually, make it available for everybody.
We've got other books.
Yeah,
David. So we're going to be right.
Speed to market is key. Just getting shit done, and
you'll be excited too when you get these fast results. And the book wasn't a right. huge slog to get to. I mean, it is tough to take action without a plan. I mean, imagine if you didn't know English and all you had was the dictionary, and you just like flip to random words from the dictionary. It'd take 10 lifetimes just to learn English, versus if someone said, here are the basic beginner words, here's what dog is, and here's what cat is, and here's how to do a simple sentence, then you would have more of a plan. And as a little bit of a PS here, like, so this book that Drew was in, some people paid as much as $975 for a chapter. $975, where I met with them for 20 minutes, interviewed, got the transcript made, and I think they got like 5 copies of the regular book and then 5 of the little one. And then they can order as many copies as they want. Lance and I are currently in the process of making a compilation book for some doctors. And with this, I think we've sold 8 out of the 12 chapters, $7,500 a pop. And then a couple of them, because we raised the price, have paid $8,500. And that comes with, well, there's like a really kind of high profile doctor they're co-authored with. So that's why the price is higher. And then 100 copies of this book, and then 100 copies of this size of the book, of like, the one with them and their face on the cover. So, I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stuff you can do. And especially if it's one thing to say, okay, well, maybe the pizza place, maybe they wouldn't want like a book that's all just them, but some kind of profession that has a lot of clients coming in and out, doctor, dentist, chiropractor. If they had 100 copies of their books sitting in the office, if they gave a copy to every new patient, or if they had a stack of them sitting out on the coffee table, there's so many outside the box solutions. If only you you find the people who are paying you more money, right? And that comes in twofold. That comes in with the compilation book, or even just if you, for whatever you're using your business for, or whatever you're trying to move your business towards, if you have a book, you get those better customers, right? And again, whether it's local businesses or people who are hiring you for your agency stuff, I mean, book leads to better customers, I think.
Yeah. I just love, I think a lot of us are doing local agency stuff. So first off, it's an amazing connection tool. If you want to do like a local podcast or interview series and then create the book from the content from the interview or the podcast or whatever, that's an awesome way to just make the connection and friendship with the local business owner. On top of that, if you are offering specific services, so you're doing web design or you're doing Google My Business stuff or SEO, whatever it happens to be, write a process book about a specific part of that service that you sell. Give everything up. Tell a local business owner exactly how to do a specific thing, step by step in that book, and go out and give that out to people. Most 9 times out of 10, the local business owners are still not going to understand, even with a step-by-step process book, or have the time to actually go and do this stuff themselves. And they'll contact you. Another great idea, which I think I'm going to use, is create a content guide for local business owners. They know they should be posting to social media. They know they should be making videos, but they don't know what to post and they don't know what to make videos about. So a book that has our business name on it, our phone number, pictures of Drew and I, and inside might be, 50 pages of different content ideas for social media. And it just gives you an excuse to walk into a business and introduce yourself, shake the business owner's hand, and give them something of value. That's what that's what I'm thinking of right now in terms of how we're probably going to use this, Drew.
100%.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah. Guys, I would jump on this for $97, 4 live sessions. Robert's going to take you through the step-by-step process that they've figured out over years on how to, put these books together in a very easy way, without wasting time and figuring a lot of the bullshit out on your own. It's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to get you moving and actually doing it. That is the key. You can think about it all you want forever. It's a great concept, but if you don't actually go ahead and put the book together, it's useless. I would absolutely jump on this. This is an amazing offer from Robert and Lance. And Robert, we thank you so much for coming on and sharing this with our group today.
Happy to do it. People need to know this, especially LMA owners.
I agree. It's just a fantastic opportunity. There's just literally a ton of ideas floating through my head, and I think there's so much opportunity out there to take advantage of this and use this strategy to increase our business, increase sales, help in prospecting, and help with connections and relationships to local business owners.
1,000,000%.
Jump in on this. We're going to be jumping in it as well. So we're going to be attending and going along for the ride and with you. So let us know that you've picked this up, and we'd love to promote any books that you guys produce out of this book formula course that's coming up, and can't wait to see everybody on the inside of this. Again, head over to deliciousmarketing.io/go/book. Guys, the price of this is going to be increasing in just a few days. So get in on it while it's at its lowest price, and turn around and leverage this for your own businesses, especially in this downtime. Nothing else to really do, but write a book or two. So we'll see you on the inside of the book formula with Robert Plank and Lance Tamashiro, and can't wait to see what you guys produce with this book. We're super grateful. Hopefully this is going to speed up our process of cranking out books left and right. And we'll see you on the inside.
Yeah, if you have any questions at all, need some clarification, Robert and Lance are in the group. They're happy to answer questions. Just make a post and tag those guys, and they're happy to answer questions. So are we. So guys, have a great rest of the day. Stay safe. Get some work done. Plan out the future, because all this BS is going to pass sooner or later. And let's be ready for when it does. Talk to you all soon.
We really appreciate you listening to today's episode of Marketer of the Day. Subscribe to us on iTunes and rate and review us at marketeroftheday.com/iTunes.